Hello, good morning YouTube, good morning Facebook. It is Ruben. I am back here with another Ruben Report, and today, as promised, I'm bringing you guys for a ride along. It was my Monday, and we're going to be riding along so that way you can see my routine ride to work, and you guys get to see exactly how it is that I ride the bike. From lots of different other posts, it's been quite a big misconception that I am, flogging this bike or riding it right open throttle all the time. So what I've done is I've went ahead and made this video to pretty much to highlight my throttle hand. And as you guys can see right now, I am pretty, and what you guys will see for the rest of this video, it's not always going to be on my hand, so it's not always going to be, it's just not going to be, boring. But at least for this first part, I have this focused pretty much on the dash and my hand, so you guys can see exactly how it is that I am very slightly rocking my hand back and forth. That little flick of the wrist. Yeah. The flick of the wrist, so-called. Yeah. And for you guys who have been following me for a very long time, you guys already know from my top speed video, my Q&A video, my MPG test videos, you already know what this route is that I'm taking. You already know that I only go about 50, 60 miles an hour. But for those who don't know, for those who have not watched all of my previous content, here is a video that's going to showcase exactly what that route is. This is how I ride my bike day in, day out. Okay, and the reason why it is that I made the MPG experiment videos to begin with was because on my ride back home from my old job, at one point in time, I used to work at Tesla. Okay, and for that job, I would actually take a shuttle bus to go to work. But from the very, very last day of work, so my last day on that job, I decided to ride the bike all the way to work, which was about 140 miles back and forth. And at the time, the bike had stock gearing, stock everything. All I had was winter accessories and other stuff to make things, more comfortable, because I was actually during the deep of winter as well. So riding the bike in its stock configuration, I found that riding on the highway and riding all the way over there, I got extremely bad MPG performance. And I think from that video, it was like I got 41 or 42. I think it was 41 MPG. And riding on the highway, I had to ride at almost wide open throttle just to keep up with traffic, because the bike with its stock gearing is extremely high. Okay, and it's really pretty high for most folks. So that's what inspired me to go through the whole MPG experiment process, where I experimented with different fuel grades, a new spark plug, lowering the gearing, and changing my overall riding habits. And through all those different experiments and all those different videos that I made, we've come to the grand conclusion, at least for myself, that the bike with 13 tooth front sprocket, a new spark plug, and these modified riding habits that I'm displaying right now is what has granted me the best MPG performance that I'll ever get in this bike. So now with all that explanation out of the way, the very purpose of why it is that I bought this bike was to save money on gas riding to work. I don't ride this thing fast. I don't really care about top performance per se. I made those videos for you guys really so that way it can be out there on the internet for everybody to see how this bike performs with different setups. because even that was hard to find on the internet. So I went ahead and put that out there for it to be documented that somebody has actually tested these things in a scientific manner. How fast does this bike go with 1345 gearing? How fast does this bike go right after a valve adjustment? How fast does this bike go, with 1445 gearing, etc., etc. Okay. But for what I actually bought this bike for is what I'm displaying to you guys right now. And after everything that I've learned, as you guys are seeing, my hand barely moves. With the lower gearing on this bike, it's not even, I would probably even say like 30 degrees, where I kind of snap my wrist forward and snap it back into that one little location. I have mastered a hand position to snap it right back to, and that position that I'm holding right now allows the bike, as you can see, to ride at 7,000 RPMs in 6th gear. And even when I'm in lower gears, I keep my hand there because the bike will continue to accelerate ever so slowly all the way through the gears until it will go straight back to 6th gear at 7,000 RPMs. You're asking why 7,000 RPMs? The reason why 7,000 RPMs, at least for me, is so important because studying the torque curve of the bike makes peak torque at 7,000 RPMs. So from riding the bike at peak torque, the bike is always in its sweet spot as far as pulling me or pulling the weight. It has the easiest time pulling the weight when it's at peak torque. And while it's at peak torque, it goes just fast enough to keep up, to do the speed, well, a little bit over the speed limit maybe, but pretty much to keep up with traffic on the back roads. So it makes no sense to go any faster, and it actually is detrimental to me to go slower, because the lower the RPMs are in 6th gear, the more the motor is working because it's not making as much torque. The higher the RPMs are in 6th gear, the more I'm kind of wasting power, because in order to get the best fuel efficiency, you need to be at peak torque. The bike needs to be moving very easily, and fuel efficiency is all about your throttle hand. The faster you go, the more you got to twist your throttle to give more gas, to give more power. But if you're at peak torque, like I am, you barely have to twist your throttle to maintain speed. And yeah, as you guys can see, that's exactly what I've been doing this whole time. Right there, the flick of the wrist. Barely twist the throttle, and I am maintaining speed, I'm gaining speed, everything. Got it down to a science. And today was quite a amazing day, actually. Usually there will be very brief moments and very brief sections of my commute where I may have to twist the throttle a little bit more in order to reach up to 7,000, well, not 7,000, but maybe even 8,000 RPMs or 8,500 to be able to pick up enough speed to pass a incoming truck, or a truck that's not incoming, but a truck that is in front of me, slowing me down. Again, after explaining that science, it's not beneficial to me to go any faster. It's not beneficial to me to be going too slow either. I like to be in a sweet spot at 7,000 RPM. That's where the bike makes peak torque. That's where the bike is working the least amount and going at a decent speed to be able to get to work on time. So what I do, if I encounter such folks, I look into the other lane, because right now I'm on a 2-lane road. Look for a wide opening, and I twist the throttle, not full throttle, but quite a bit back, to be able to gain speed enough to reach 70 miles an hour and then get back into my lane and continue on going at 7,000 RPMs and 60 to 61, 62 miles an hour. Okay. And yeah, later on in this video, again, I'll be flipping the camera up so you guys can actually see what's going on. Yeah, right here. So as I was saying, 2-lane roads, right? One going one way, one coming the other way. There's one of those big trucks right now, holding up a whole bunch of traffic. But for this morning, none of them were on my route. And another thing, here this morning, nobody was on my butt either. Nobody was pressuring me to go faster. Nobody was behind me. Today was a very smooth, chill morning. So today, I just stayed in my sweet spot, and I think I did really good when it comes to gas mileage. All right. I'm going to speed up a little bit of this clip, and there's going to be a point in time where we get to see one of those trucks that I was talking about. But keep on looking at it at flick of the wrist. Just keep on looking at that flick of the wrist. I do not flog this bike. It makes no sense. It's just a waste of fuel efficiency. It's a waste of money. My bike is set up to be fuel efficient. That is the goal. The goal is to save money on gas, and I have set my bike up in the perfect way for me to be able to achieve that goal. All right, I'm speeding up some of these sections in this video because my complete ride to work is about 35-40 minutes, right, anywhere between there. I don't want this video to be way too long, and it's just unnecessary. But as you guys can also see, there's certain sections where I'm riding in towns where there's a lot of stop and go, a lot of stoplights. Usually when I'm in these type of towns, my top speed is about 50 miles an hour indicated, usually. So that comes out to about 45 miles an hour GPS. But there's also the long stretches outside once I get outside of these towns, where I get back up to speed up to about 60 miles an hour max. But I generally just keep, like I said, I keep it at 7,000 RPM at the sweet spot. That usually comes out to around 61, 62 miles an hour indicated. And with that, I'm usually going about 56, 57, 58 maybe. No, more like 55, 56, maybe even 57 GPS. And I'm showing you guys here, that's exactly what I'm doing. 7,000 RPMs. As long as no one's on my butt, I chill. If somebody's really pushing me, I get up to about maximum 60 miles an hour GPS. So here's an example of not really a slow truck, but a truck with a trailer that's in front of me. I actually chased this guy for, like 10-15 minutes. And with the way that I ride, I'm just not fast enough to catch him. And he's been going, 60 miles an hour pretty much. So again, I just found no need to go even faster for no reason. I just stayed in my sweet spot, getting my fuel mileage. As you guys can see, there's all those trucks coming on the left side. There's a lot of trucks coming, the other direction. But if I was behind a truck, they usually ride like 50, 55. Okay, maybe. Usually like 50 on these back roads. And so I finally get up behind one and then I'm kind of pressed to go ahead and pass, which you guys are seeing. There's a lot of opportunities where I could pass, but if I'm not careful, okay, if I'm not careful, I will be caught pretty much in the middle of it, you know? So when it comes to, and so you guys see why it's so important for the bike to be functioning correctly, because even when the bike runs poorly, I can still go like 60 miles an hour. I just can't accelerate quick enough to be able to pass safely. Does it make sense? And so when the bike is running terrible, not only do I have a top end power loss, I also am quite affected when it comes to my gas mileage as well, because the worse and worse that the bike actually performs top end wise, and even middle, the more and more throttle is required for me to maintain the same speeds as before. So when the bike is running great, like it's doing right now, I have a very slight flick of the wrist. It's so smooth. But when the bike is running poorly, or when the valves are too tight, I have a significant power loss, and then I'm required to twist the throttle a lot more, or maybe even not necessarily a lot more, but quite a bit more in order to get the same performance. And so this is what plays into the worst gas mileage, because I'm also requiring or needing to use more throttle to maintain the same speeds. Make sense? So, you know, with the lower gearing on the bike, I barely have to twist the throttle to cruise. But if the engine or if the valves don't want to stay put, I basically very incrementally, and this is how it's been for the past couple weeks, I incrementally every other day have to continuously increase my wrist movement, increase my flick of the wrist in order to maintain speeds again. Okay. But today, day one is usually always the amazing day. Day one is usually always when things go well. Day one is always when, you know, we don't really see those symptoms just yet. But we will see how long this valve adjustment will last. And I hope it lasts a lot longer than any of the previous standard gap adjustments. All right. So for the rest of this clip, I'm pretty much just on the final stretch of making it back to work. Still 7,000 RPM, still 60 to 61, maybe even 62 miles an hour indicated. I just try to keep it at that 7,000 RPM range. There's a little bit of a downhill slope. Sometimes it goes up a little bit higher, or a little bit lower because I got to go back uphill. But the bike has absolutely no problem pulling me with this low gearing and staying in the peak torque band. All right. And so I really encourage you guys to, if you have not already, just go ahead and check out my MPG experiment series. You guys can learn a lot about how all the different components of which I've added to the bike over the past, couple of months have really affected the bike's overall performance. And maybe you can learn a thing or two about certain components that can help you get better fuel economy if that's something that you're after as well. Or other than that, I mean, it'll be cool to know how fast the bike can actually go with, whatever type gearing, right? The only top speed test I have not released yet, as far as the gearings that are concerned, is a 1344 gearing setup. So if my bike ever starts running properly again, that'll probably be the last top speed video that I'll release. All right. All right, y'all, I made it back home finally, and I have got to say, man, today has been great. You know, riding this bike has really put a smile on my face again. The way that it was performing today was excellent. Power was there. I didn't get the opportunity to use it because why waste fuel economy when you don't have to? Even on the road way back, there was no need. There was no need for me to twist the throttle for no reason. I'm doing my best to use this bike for what I intended it to be for, and that's fuel efficiency. And as you guys have observed, you've observed how it is that I generally ride this bike. Today was an amazing day as well. Like, there was no big trucks that I had to encounter on my side of the road, but you guys also got to see what type of conditions it is that I actually ride on. But paying attention to the flick of the wrist. All right, you guys know now that I barely have to twist my wrist in order to get the performance that I need. So yeah, we'll see how long this lasts. I really hope that it'll last for a while. Exhaust sounds great. Idle it was just a tiny little bit above 1500, you know, maybe like 1550 or 1600 is what it was kind of pushing towards, but it wasn't erratic. It was just kind of dancing a little bit back and forth. What else would I say? Yes, I actually did order a boar snake camera off of Amazon. I'll put a little picture of it now. All right, with that, I mean, I do plan to still potentially use that so we can see so everybody can see really what's actually going on inside the engine. I mean, this is a mystery, right? And is it the valve seats? Is it the fasteners? Is it something else? All of us will be able to take a look inside the engine and actually see what's going on in there. And I'm pretty excited about that little upgrade. But we're gonna wait for that until it shows up, and also probably to the weekend where I have more time to actually, you know, go through all of that. Yeah, guys, thanks for watching this video, and I'm glad to, you know, be on my bike, have a smile on my face, things work the way that they're supposed to, and to just be able to not only save money and use the bike as I intended it to, but also have a blast while doing it, man, because this is an awesome bike when it works right. when it's not, you know, it's kind of a letdown, you know, because it can be so many different things, and those type of you know, phases come and go. But I'm glad that things are running the way that it should, and I'm able to enjoy the bike and make my wallet happy at the same time. All right, peace out, y'all.